It's time to refresh your yard during spring backyard days at the Home Depot. Get low prices guaranteed on propane grills starting at $179, like the Next Grill 3-burner gas grill. Or get $50 off the select Weber Spirit Grill and bring big flavor to your backyard. Then set the scene with Hampton-based string lights that bring it all together. Shop spring backyard days for 7 days at the Home Depot, now through May 6th. Exclusions apply. See homedepot.com/price match for details.
Chronic migraine is 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine before they start. It's not for those with 14 or fewer headache days a month. It prevents on average 8 to 9 headache days a month versus 6 to 7 for placebo.
Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor, visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com, or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
Zootopia 2 has come home to Disney+.
Let's go!
Get ready for a new case.
We're gonna crack this case and prove we're the greatest partners of all time!
New friends.
You are... Gary the Snake. And your last name? The Snake.
Dream Team.
New habitats.
Zootopia has a secret reptile population.
You can watch the record-breaking phenomenon at home.
You're clearly working at
Zootopia 2, now available on Disney Plus, rated PG.
Hi, this is Nick.
And Johanna of Lucifer.
And you are listening to The Hook, the ultimate rock community podcast.
With Jay Scott.
Days of the week, sometimes they get to me, but somehow I know it'll roll off my shoulders. It's not easy to speak when I'm feeling weak, or to let my feelings show as I'm growing older. Sunlight, everything's alright. We're just having some fun and getting things done. Yesterday gave me no raise. It was a sad one. Oh,
happy Friday to all of you. Welcome back to The Hook Rocks, the ultimate rock community podcast. I'm your host, Jay Scott. Looking forward to the weekend. Fall is in the air. It's getting a little brisk out here in the Chicago area. Love it. Leaves are changing. Concerts are going on. I'm going to see Bourbon House tonight in Joliet. Looking forward to that. But yeah, I got a great show here for you today. Got Mr. Travis McCready, lead singer of the now defunct Bishop Gunn. Weird to say that. Great band. One of my favorite new emerging bands. We're going to get into it with Travis. We're going to talk all about it. We are part of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Great network of music-related podcasts. Something for all of you to check out. Check out pantheonpodcast.com. You can listen to fellow podcasters like Shout Out Loudcast, Hangin' and Bangin' with Carmen Apiece and Vinny Appice, Martin Popoff, Mistress Carrie, Cobras and Fire. So much to listen to. Great family to be a part of. Follow them on Twitter at Pantheon Pods. You can follow us on Twitter at The Hook Rocks. Also on Facebook, The Hook Rocks. And follow us wherever you do podcasts. Amazon, Apple, Spotify, Google, Pandora, wherever. Catch all the latest episodes of The Hook Rocks. And you can go back as far as June of 2019 and check out the episodes there too as well. Our introduction episode, what it was like to see Randy Rhoads, as well as new episodes like the New Music Spotlight with Bourbon House, The Warning, Classless Act, a whole bunch of bands that have been on the show. We just did our review of our favorite albums from July, August, and September, our quarterly series that a lot of people dig, a lot of people are into. We also interviewed Greg Renoff. We had a discussion with Greg on remembering Eddie Van Halen, so check that out. And earlier this week, we dropped the episode with Doug Pinnick from King's X on his new solo album, Joy Bomb. So lots of great stuff happening, lots of stuff going on in the future. So stay tuned for all of that. I am really excited about my next guest. It's an artist I've wanted to have on the podcast for a long time. And if my memory serves me correctly, I should say, we were in the process of setting something up with this band prior to the pandemic in the fall of 2019, and things went radio silent. And a lot's happened since then. And I'd like to welcome in my opinion, one of the great artists of modern music, modern rock music, and it is the singer, artist, former singer of Bishop Gunn, Mr. Travis McCready. What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for doing this. This is really exciting for me because I've been wanting to talk to you for a bit.
Yeah. We had tried to do this. Another date that didn't work out for me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that, but I'm glad we got in touch now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. No worries there. Things come up, things happen. But as we always begin with every time we have a first-time guest on the podcast, it's basically what the show is about, the hook rock. Just like every rock and roll song has a hook that sucks you in, every rock and roll fan has a moment, whether it's a song, an album, a band, or performance that hooked them on rock and roll. What was it for you?
Oh man. So like, I kind of grew up with this, well, not kind of, grew up like in a real small town, had like, just a top 40 station and then a country station. And I guess, we didn't have like rock and roll stations or anything like that. Maybe a classic rock station I wasn't aware of, but I had this uncle that had a bunch of CDs and these, this was in the 90s, and he had like one of those bookshelf like collections of CDs and stuff, and I used to go and borrow like 10, 12, 15 of them at a time, and then keep them for a couple of weeks and that's what I started to kind of mine, like rock and roll and just all the history of, eventually the history of music, and things, and which were the elements that went into rock and roll and whatnot, and blues and folk and all that. So, but I guess it's like a moment. I can't really say. I remember the first time I heard Back in Black in the riff AC/DC, I was like, that probably kicked me in the balls harder than anything prior. So I guess, when I first heard that riff, would probably be my kicking the balls from rock and roll initially.
Your music really does incorporate a lot of different influences. Obviously, the rock and roll you hear a lot of soul, you hear a lot of blues, you hear folk music. When you're growing up and you're, listening to music. You mentioned, I heard you last night on your live stream mention that story about the top 40 station and the country station, and hearing you talk about Back in Black. What other elements of music? What were some of the other music that you were listening to as
gangster rap, man? Like I said, gangster rap and from the 90s and country was like what I liked when I was a kid, like prior to, like 10, 11, 12 years old when I started like actually mining for myself, but yeah, so, and you can, and songs like Alabama and like from the EP back in 2016, like Let the People Know, and I don't know, on the Matches album as well, Anything You Want, songs like that. You can hear my wordplay is really scatty and kind of rappy, you know what I mean? I always joked and said, like, he was to put a rap beat behind most of, a Bishop Gunn song, and took the lyrics or the words and put a rap beat behind it. It would just be a rap kind of in a way. But so I like that fast. So the fast wordplay and stuff, and the fraction kind of, and then story, so you can kind of see the heritage of gangster rap and country. If you got a storytelling, and then and then this fraction, to it, like this wordplay, this delivery. So
that's interesting. I hear it now that you're talking about it.
Yeah. And that's just some things. Like I'm pretty. I'm very what would you say? I guess opening up front with my influences and stuff, and I like to find out why things and kind of self-reflect and find myself like looking back and finding little elements and that I kind of attribute to certain things that are that I guess that I tend to do, because writing songs and stuff, no one's Moses on Mount Sinai. You're basically cutting and pasting from your from what you've been exposed to, whether it's subconsciously or consciously. I became a better writer, I think, when I would pay attention to where or to where like maybe a certain aspect came from. Because writing used to be like walking through a minefield, like if you would try not to step on somebody else's song or something, like I can remember like myself like reminding like, or being reminded of another song while I'm writing one and thinking, damn, I can't, I got to throw this song away. That's already been done, which was silly. And it took me a while to realize, okay, well, if that wasn't happening, then I wouldn't be a very good songwriter, because there's not that many options with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then 12 semitones, So I kind of started to, I would look at what I was what the song I was writing reminded me of. I would look at whatever that popular song was, and embrace it, and then I'd know kind of how to uniquely route around that, rather than, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like,
yeah. Like
if I could see like where my influence is coming from, rather than thinking that I'm stepping on somebody's toes or plagiarizing or anything like that, because you're not. That's not that many options. So I would accent at that, and then I would know what to do, where I needed to be unique in my own thing, to embrace it. So, writing and singing, and
because I hear a lot of James Brown, Sam Cooke, Chris Robinson from the Black Crowes in your voice.
Well, I'd always give my three, in interviews or something, they'd say, what are your influences? Well, I'm like, basically everything I've ever heard, some what to do, some what not to do. But I give my top three, I always like to say, would have been Otis Redding, Chris Cornell, and Bob Seger.
There you go. Those are, that's good company.
Say again?
That's good company.
Right.
As far as, those influences and gangster rap, country music, top 40, it sounded like you had a whole buffet of music when you were younger. And, when did it become something that you wanted to do and perform?
probably about 4 years old. But I would like pretend to play like my, toy guitars and shit. And, or I can remember my first microphone, like stand get up was like a vacuum cleaner from, those old vacuum cleaners, and it comes up and then the handle kind of 45-degree angles, over. So about where I'd have to lean that down to be able to sing into it. So from about that height would be, when I started thinking about performing or whatever. And I would do these little concerts for my family and brothers and sisters. And then I guess around 6, I guess maybe I was 6 or 7. My grandpa, he's a like accomplished steel guitar player. He, I know he was. I guess I was probably like, running around singing, hey, trying to be, center of attention or something. And I know he meant well, but he called me over there and he says, you shouldn't, son, you shouldn't try to perform in front of people till you know what you're doing. And I didn't sing in front of anybody else till I was almost 18 years old. But I, I began playing guitar and stuff, pretty seriously, like as a teen. And then I would play, guitar in like little garage bands and stuff. But I was always working on singing in the dark, kind of like, it was just something I never, I don't remember not thinking about doing. And which was a weird thing because I couldn't say R's or H's till I was like 8, 7, 8 years old, like I had like a speech impediment thing, and you'll hear that in my records, like when I sing, you really can't, you'll hear my R's aren't there and stuff like, so, I guess I kind of go to a purer place of when I started thinking about singing. So anyway, so speech, singing, that's just always been just something that I wanted to be good at or better at, still to this day. So, yeah.
As far as wanting to be in a band, was there a moment that you saw someone in concert that you wanted to, be on stage performing for? I mean, I know you talked about performing for your family when you were a kid, but when did it mean being in a band, writing songs and making records? When did that become something you wanted to do?
Probably around 12. I kind of on 12, right around 13, I kind of started dwelling more in my bedroom. I don't know if my parents had I'd gotten a divorce, and then we made a move down to like 3 hours south from Natchez to the coast. So I didn't have any friends down there really and stuff. So I more or less went into like to what was in the back of my mind already anyway. So I started focusing more on the guitar, and I would get a record like every couple weeks. I'd try to buy like a CD and then sit in my room and or print out guitar tabs and then sit in my room and then just play along to these records and stuff. So I can't think of what made me want to do that. I guess maybe the records that I was getting into, and then I'm sure like I would read these magazines and just the whole brotherhood aspect of, I guess I was looking for like some lonely kid in his room, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of all there's several elements came together, and I wanted that, just that shared experience, I guess.
As far as writing music, writing songs, lyrics, was there a song that you heard that made you want to write something, a song that made you feel something like, man, I want to do that. I want to be able to express myself through lyrics? What?
Rather than what comes to mind, rather than the song itself, but first is that I can remember thinking that I wanted to be, and I wanted to be there for listeners, for people at the press of a button, the way that the artists and singers and songwriters were for me, the ones that I confided in, because that's like it's a same element that makes, fans, that makes super fans, that makes stalkers even, you know what I mean? Because like there's like when somebody's listening to records, you know what I mean? They're listening to someone's recorded vulnerable soul. And then, and it's like it's a subconscious kind of conversation going on between you and them, while although you're not speaking back to them, but you're still opened up, and it's like you're speaking back to them because you're relating. You know what I mean? People spend a lot of time with someone else's thoughts, and then that's where I guess where people that's how I've that was my thought on how people get to know the artist or something, or even like from the other side, like having I was like on the road or during tours and stuff, see somebody look at me from across the room and know that they looking at me like they knew me, but and I could see that look of how that person spent time with my thoughts, or that person spent time with my music, with my recorded vulnerabilities, with my relation, to them. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, perfect.
So rather
sense.
than a certain song, I can remember how I wanted to be there through song for people, just song in general,
When you're writing music, like you mentioned, there is that vulnerability because you're tapping into an experience that you've had, whether it's a comfortable experience, whether it's an uncomfortable experience. And you talk about that connection with the audience. And, when someone listens to those lyrics and reads those lyrics, they connect with it.
There's a baby who cries, and it's primal. And there's a baby that learns to whine and learns to turn on his, learns to turn on these endorphins, and like, and stick the lip out and go through the whole thing, But you also pay different attention to that one than you would a crying baby, like say with it, the crying baby hits the cerebellum, of your brain, like the fight or flight. Whining baby, you got, the frontal cortex tells you he's just over there. It doesn't hit you the same way. You can continue what you're doing while there's a whining baby in the distance. You know what I mean? Your frontal cortex tells the cerebellum, look, well, there's that's okay. He's good. There's not, he has it, it's not alarming, but there's so there's a difference, I think, when. And I don't know how to not go there when I particularly when I sing or write. So I've described it as far as to the audience, I've described it as fucking and fighting and crying in front of thousands of people all at the same time.
How do you navigate through that vulnerability? I mean, because you have to relive, the experience. Right?
Yeah,
and that's,
totally.
And that's not always
it's not a normal cycle. No, that's not a normal.
Yeah. That's tough to do.
It's purpose. And I've actually sung Saturdays. That's what that's about. So I would develop like thoughts that like core, like foundational thoughts. That even when depleted, you and everything's not rewarding instantly. There's no instant gratification. There's no, like that to stay the course. Like the song says, Saturdays, won't you let me out to play? Rain, 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 go away. And it'll be okay when the sun shines on tomorrow. I'll be counting the gold at the end of my rainbow. Kind of like, I guess like a mature way to not need like that, to not need the sensation, the best of sensations all the time, can kind of be numb and still feel it, because you're going through the steps to be able to harvest it again, I guess. That makes it.
Yeah, because it's because you can use it as therapy. When you're writing something out, it helps you maybe understand things. Sometimes when you write about an experience that happened a while back, kind of gives you a different perspective, or maybe you have a different perspective.
Yeah,
on it,
yeah. Exactly. And one song to the next, from the next one might be like something really happy, and you just I do think a lot about like the it's not a normal thing. Like we did 250 shows in 14 countries, and like around probably traveled through around 40 states that year, I guess, in 11 months. So it's like, so you basically safe to say 300 days on the road, if you did 250 shows. So say there's 50, and you're on the road in between shows and all this. So a healthy guess would be 300 days on the road, and then it's not a normal, pattern for especially for like a singer. Kind of, I was kind of the template, I co-wrote several songs with a couple writer friends of mine. But even then, that would be like a second opinion, kind of helping, like maybe a reminder to stay course or something in a craft way while trying to tell my story. You know what I mean? So yeah, like when it's like pretty much every song was like extremely personal. Besides like Alabama, that was the only song where I kind of had fun. We kind of had fun, and two other writers kind of had fun just writing a scenario and saying where could this go and this and that, and other than that, like pretty much everything was really, really extremely personal, from the happy ones to sad ones to the and the Gypsy Cadillac album. That was you'll notice it's a rise and a demise, second half. That's we could get into that, but sorry, go ahead next. Actually, I don't want to ramble too much.
No worries, man. As far as writing music and when you're performing it, is it important for you that the audience or the person listening connects with the song the way you have written it, or are you okay with them having their own meaning to it?
When I refrain like from fencing it in from the at the writing in the writing process, like to where certain try to omit certain words that would whether geographically or demographically or even like gender or like where it could be anyone's. Like I've omitted the word baby out of a song, like because that would have like the song Nothing to Lose, because that one word kind of put it a boy girl or a relationship kind of thing, when that song could be about two buddies, so so from the core of it, I kind of tend to try to let it be universal. So the answer, I guess, is no. Like if it doesn't follow exactly how, then not at all. But yeah, I like to hear the different interpretations, and I kind of set it up from the get go for that, or at least try to.
When I hear Gypsy Cadillac, being that I'm a huge fan of Bishop Gunn, I'm excited, I'm happy, but there's also a sense of sadness because we all know the story. You guys are no longer together.
Yeah.
Is that tough for you to hear this album knowing that?
No, absolutely not. not to cut you off, but we this like when it came to lining to order of the songs, you can there's a couple reasons like why it's like the first half is Arrived and second's Demise. I could kind of sense, I can see where, the things, that see life happening to different members, like babies being born and different, different situations and in the farmhouse in the woods aspect kind of dwindling. But that demise of that, all right. So there's a core to the record that's Mother music, and then I did this one version on the piano and split it in half and put that bookended the intro and the intro and the outro, and then of 11 songs, and then it being Dead in the Center is the full band version of that song, Mother music, and then so then it's like the B side. All of a sudden, Mama Told Me Not to Come, Ain't It a Shame, Saturdays, Black Train, Save Me Before I Take a Black Train Home, and then it's like, and then the last song, what's it called? The last song, Unchained, which
yeah.
I'd written to myself a couple of years prior from my brother. My brother passed from heroin 6 years ago, and I refuse to call a heroin overdose. That implies that there's a proper dose to fucking heroin, right?
Yeah.
So, my brother died from fucking heroin 6 years ago. So I'd written that song Unchained back to myself, kind of therapeutically, of what maybe he would like to say, to my family members, or that he's in a better place type thing, But so just to kind of like the album, like the junkyard factor of, I like to think everybody's born into junkyard of information, this world, junkyard of information, forging around for parts, and eventually, builds, makes up their character, their personality, ultimately like the vehicle, ultimately their navigation through life, what they're going, their person. And, which, needs, maintenance, it needs gauges, it needs a steering wheel, it needs all this. And, so the album itself is a reference to that, like that I'm not exempt from my like brother's demise, I'm without looking at life, and looking at the gauges and looking at, and navigating better. So it's and right down to the order of the songs, being a rise and a fall, like I kind of put my like my brother's demise in my outfit and my shoes, and kind of like, because I constantly reflect like upon our lives, and you know what I mean, and so yeah, it's a big representation, and that's the way I viewed like my own mortality, right? So. And so it's a combination of that, and then I could also, then I was also kind of reflecting a little bit of how, it was looking like the band's demise could be, like, not out of any, like, conflict, fight, nothing like that. Just life just happening to, you got 4 individuals who have however many individuals in their camp, and it's just, just multiplies off and off and off, so how long can you actually keep, pretty tough to keep all that together anyway, even in the most unconflict of ways, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, it's a big conglomeration of a lot of things.
So you felt the demise of the band as you were recording it coming?
Yeah, definitely. And just being from, like stretched, you could just tell, there was a lot of obligations and there was members that are just, that were, whose spouse or whatever was pregnant or who just, and members who just had, babies born, and just go, and then so obligations and very merited obligations, just kind of coming from different directions, and then you could just kind of see that that either not that it necessarily was had to be a demise, but it was definitely definitely dealing with the ingredients that could if not monitored, just like the like maintenance on your vehicle or something, like, or Gypsy Cadillac, so I could definitely see I was definitely watching the gauges, so to speak.
Because when you guys did announce the news, it was termed as a hiatus, right?
I read that on my Facebook too, bro. See, well, Vernon made a post like the drums made a post early January that that he had been relapsing and had been dancing with some old devils, and nobody really knew completely of the extent of, but and was to take his break or go to and he was going to supposedly going to do maintenance on that, and I don't think that was being done in time, or if I can't say if it was or it wasn't, like, at all from then to now. I don't know, but I know in the time, it wasn't being assessed, and then like Drew, guitar player, he kind of, I think he was the second to throw in the towel, and I assume upon those reasons. And Ben, the bass player, who had he had just had a child back over the prior August 2019, so, and and then just 1, 2, 3, 4, so just kind of honestly really without conflict, pretty much, just kind of started to disassemble. But and we had, we were an unsigned band. We had no, we never signed anything. We had basically, what you say, friendly agreements and whatnot, and with investment and stuff like that. So we had, there was a lot over the head, you know what I mean? So it just kind of, but I'm friends with everyone. Me and Burn speak probably more frequently than anyone else than I do with anyone else in the band. But again, me and Burn were the core members through four bass players, 2 different guitar players, and it was always me and Burn, the drummer. So yeah, man, life just kind of life equations,
It sounds like everyone developed higher priorities, whether it was a family, whether it was taking care of their own life, trying to do that, and Bishop Gunn.
And I'm not want to speak for anyone, like, and that's why, it's like, and honestly, I mean, there's not really much more than that to even discuss, but it's just kind of, like you said, just life was happening in four different ways, from 4 different, from 4 different directions, and Nobody was. There's really not a. And so I've called it the kind of the most unrock and roll band breakup ever.
But, no big scandal, no big,
Not exactly,
no big to-do.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's just, that's, but what it is what it is. Yeah, I just try to keep with, and I understand it's probably easier. It would be if it was easiest for anybody to have just like stayed at their particular let's say at their particular craft and in their particular micro craft in the macro craft, then it would have been easier for me being a songwriter and singer and playing to it was definitely easiest for me to continue than I'm sure it was for anyone else, which is conflictive thought, you know what I mean, to myself, but
it seems like with Gypsy Cadillac, it's a tremendous, beautiful album, and you talk about your writing style, you talk about your lyrics and the music that you write. There is a beauty in the pain, right? There is beauty in the darkness, whether it's...
Oh, yeah, nothing exists without the opposition, no.
Yeah, whether it's the songs, I think of, the title track, Gypsy Cadillac, and I think of Nothing to Lose and so many other songs on the album, and I think of Your Story, moving down to the coast and, parents divorced and not having a lot of friends and finding comfort in lyrics and an outlet in lyrics and talking about the demise of the band as you were recording this. It is a beauty that it comes from pain, comes from darkness. And it's a very, it's a very unique thing.
Totally. And a lot of the songs, there's a lot of riffs that I turned into songs or lyrics that I turned into full songs and stuff that throughout this album and the Natchez album that were things I'd written. I was a steel fitter from like 18 to 26. I built like ductwork for nuclear power plants in this shop, and my dad had worked in pretty much that same shop. He worked some other jobs here and there, but then he worked in that shop from 1975 for the most part until he died last year, and I worked there with him for 9 years, and I would play music at night. We'd work. My brothers worked there. My cousins. I had a 5-piece band that all worked the same shift, like 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. At one time out there, and then on Friday and Saturday night, we'd play Friday, Saturday night, and then still be back to work at 6 the next morning. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, after getting off at 6, 6 to 6, we'd be, I think 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock would be practice on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and so a lot of I recreated songs from old bands, and would turn them into songs that that BG used, and a lot of songs I wrote like in the moment with during those times, it's just always trying to write my way out of that shop, so to speak. And I haven't swung a hammer in almost 8 years, and that's my most proudest feat, I suppose. But I count it down every year. I'm not too good to swing a hammer, but don't particularly want to at this point. I'd rather keep my hands as soft as they've been since junior high right now.
Yeah, man, don't be doing anything to hurt those hands, damage those hands.
So,
as far as you go, and you're always performing, and right now you're doing solo shows and acoustic shows. What was the reason for not continuing Bishop Gunn with other members and just going solo?
Man, there's a small number of reasons, a couple of reasons. One, I didn't burn, being the drummer we were doing, we were the creators of it, and they're through every chapter, and that wasn't the best idea to continue that way. So yeah, so it's just turned into different paths, I think that we hit record for a reason,
Yeah, I think the band, it was a tremendous band. It was, you can hear the magic on Natchez, and you can hear the magic on Gypsy Cadillac. I first listened to Gypsy Cadillac. I was coming back from seeing the band, the Cold Stairs. I don't know if you're familiar with them. And
no.
they're a blues band, 2-piece blues band out of Indiana.
Stairs, like staring or stair steps, or
staring, the Cold Stairs.
Stairs, I guess.
And
that could be a double. That's a cool double option.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm coming back from the show, and I'm like, and I knew you guys had just dropped the album. I'm like, I gotta check it out. So I hit it, I put it on play on my phone, and I'm driving down the highway, and I'm the only one on the road. Like, it's just me and the highway and the lights, and the album just took me home, and it was awesome. It was perfect. I mean, Gypsy Cadillac, the way it kicks in, Unchained, and God, I mean, every song on the album was just a thing of beauty.
When Jakir King was the producer, he was a producer on that album, and a lot of Black Train we put together like out of like 3 old different riffs and like 2 different songs of lyrics, and just made this big conglomeration because they all were in that same wheelhouse. And other than that, most of the songs were in the were like kind of in the structure, in the ready to record state, and from prior help, some prior pre-production with a producer of the previous album, Casey Wasner, who was him and Martin Neal both worked with those songs. But so we had even done some pre-production work with him, that when we were kind of more or less getting the songs to a punchier level and stuff like that. So, but when Jakir being the producer of it, like it was his techniques of harnessing everything was his huge part on that album. With you're familiar with Jakir, huh?
Yeah.
King. His this recording techniques and choices of gear, and different chains of different outboard gear and stuff, and was just put it into. He really got close to it. The album with me and us, and he kind of saw the concept from the get go really hard, and made the thing just sound. It made it sound like he got to know me really well, and he got to the guys really well in their instrumentation, and which was pretty cool, because the last thing I would ever want to be, and when I refuse to be, is a file on the pile,
Mm-hmm.
So that was, it was awesome that the way Jakir worked with us, and to do his part as best he could. He really everybody knocked it out of the park, I think.
Is there plans to release it physically, either on vinyl or CD?
No, not that. Not exactly. I mean, there's thoughts, but nothing's underway, and it's. So we'll see where it goes. yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, nothing's in the works. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
When you listen to the album now, after you're removed from it for several months, do you absorb it differently? Do you hear it differently than, you know, obviously probably when you were hearing these songs as you were recording them, like you mentioned, you know the demise is coming. Now that that's over and there's a different reality, do you hear the album differently?
Not like when I would have, not like other albums or projects been a part of. Like it's not to say like not to sound like not to sound like arrived or anything to the but it was pretty much it was where it was pretty much executed exactly in the way like I perceived and hoped to for it to be, you know. So it has it was like a perfect storm, I guess. So I don't like hear it differently. Maybe in a couple elements of but not in concept way, or not in you know what I mean, not in the not as in the material way, you know what I mean. I might listen to it and find some new things that I think's pretty cool about it, like that I wasn't paying attention to then. But when it comes to the writing and the concept way, it was pretty much a perfect storm to where it just stamped time like just fucking like a tattoo of sound, you know.
It's like an entry in a diary.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, exactly. Like it just froze thought, you know. It was concluded from the get go, you know.
As far
in
as
a lot of different ways.
As far as being at peace with everything, like knowing that, you know, this was a time in your life, this was magic, as a lot of people, including myself, have described your music. Are you at peace with everything at this point? I mean, I imagine there probably had to be some difficulty, you know, getting through that once things started to unravel.
Definitely, but yeah, totally, because like that was like, what would I say? That was like life. I've finished as a writer and as a, you know, and as my part, is what I'm speaking of. I finished, you know, kind of my tale thus far, I guess, you know, to where it was like such a amount of, like, it got me writing, it got the wheels turning for writing, like, because a lot of those songs, you know, I'd written in some of those songs I'd written a year or so before, and then a lot of them I'd written throughout on the bus and stuff in 2019, but about subjects, you know, prior and going on then and up to it. I want to say it was definitely a checkpoint. It was like, yeah, it was to where like just okay, like now it's time to make new experiences, new, you know. I was okay with it being new experiences for new writing, for new, because of feeling so concluded from that. So I guess that made it easier is what I'm trying to say. Like not, it wasn't easy, but you know what I mean? Like there wasn't any unfinished, unwritten, you know, songs that I felt that I needed to get out of my chest or anything like that. It was if that makes sense, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah.
I felt concluded. I felt, you know, not to where like like to where like, all right, see you guys later kind of thing, but you know what I mean, like. But it was it was I was on the cigarette phase after the.
We've all gone through our own personal cigarette phase.
No, not literally. What I mean is I was laid back I was laid back smoking a cigarette, like was as good for you as it was for me. So, I had smoked cigarettes in 4 years come February, but the longest I've been since I was fucking 8. So no, the cigarette phase was 20 something years. That's gone. I was meaning, I was sitting back. I was sitting back enjoying. It was exciting. I'd gotten my fucking music, my writing nut, so to speak, for the time being.
As far as moving forward, you are now playing under Travis McCready, singer-songwriter. Yeah. There has to be, an element of excitement and a newness to it. And, as you look at opportunity, where does this lead? Are you going to be recording any music? Is it just now just playing out? And
well, I recorded 9 songs back in at Fame Studios where we did Gypsy, and we did Alabama there in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, back in April, I think. So I have I've been sitting on this solo album, and then it was actually it was going to come out around the time that we ended up releasing Gypsy Cadillac. So, I just kind of put it back on the back burner because I figured let that one sit in for a while, I pushed my plans maybe to, I guess, maybe spring to release my solo album. And with that much time of thought, then it's also kind of given me revision ideas, to maybe splitting some of that content up into a couple of EPs, even especially coming after Gypsy Cadillac's release, like with the in the details that I've told you of kind of how I don't want to, how concluded I was with that, so it's almost like the concept I had of trying to make a solo album, like in a concept way, it's just kind of like, well, that would be kind of almost like so inferior to the album that we were able to release, Gypsy Cadillac. So I'm kind of thinking now, maybe just a couple EPs, 3-4 track here, 3-4 track there, you know what I mean? And hell, maybe some singles just thrown out there for the hell of it, because we're all just making this shit up anyway, right?
Yeah. Was it
especially if you're independent? If you're you're just kind of independent artist, it's like just give your tribe, give your people, your audience, try to keep them fed, with and entertained with your craft,
Well, the name of the game is staying on the road, and if you can stay on the road and make money while you're giving your audience new music every several months and keeping things going, that's kind of the best of the both worlds.
Exactly, man. I've played no less than 4 shows a month. I think it's the lowest, 4 or 5 shows a month, no less, since February 2020. So I've driven over 120,000 miles since August 2020.
Wow.
So so just over a year. And that's August 2020 is when I started kind of generally counting miles. And I was touring a lot. I was running around a lot before that. So well over 120,000 miles in the last year and a half. Just self-driven, around. And so yeah, I've stayed busy, and I do I started in February 2020. I started this early February, mid-February. BG was still together, and I started this Tuesday live stream from my Facebook page, and every Tuesday from 8 to 9, Central Time, and Yeah, you mentioned to catching a little bit last night. So it's almost 2 years that it's February. It'll be 2 years that I've done that every Tuesday. So even through the pandemic and everything, and the pandemic kind of came after I'd been doing that for a couple months, and then that, and strangely that, that was the only option for any musician, keeping their audience entertained was live streaming. I accidentally had just started that, so that was it worked out a little bit in that way. So I've been trying to as many ways, whatever ways I can. I've been trying to keep people that believe in my music and want to hear my music and stuff entertained as I possibly can.
Was it important for you to venture out on your own right away? I mean, the announcement, I believe, came fall of 2019. You started performing.
No, it was spring. No, February.
Okay, yeah, actually, you're right. Yeah.
The same day. Like I think the same day, or maybe, because I had this, it had been years since I'd played like a show by myself, but we didn't. January, February, it's been almost 2 months, or since we had, had to play the show due to Burns hiatus and whatever he announced, when he made his Facebook post. It had been, and that's survival, man. So I was like, okay, so I was gonna like play this small like venue in Baton Rouge, like an hour and a half from south of Natchez. Try to try to stay afloat, try to pay some rent and all that. And that's and I knew that it was, I was aware that it was about to get kind of hung up. And I think as soon as I read the post on my newsfeed, and about the same time later that day, I see the venue in Baton Rouge make a post that was, and it said like Travis McCready goes solo, but like in Baton Rouge or whatever, you know what I mean? And it's like, but would have been just like Travis McCready does a solo show, you know what I mean? But it just lined up like to where I see that, and then it's like Travis McCready goes solo, and so those words like rang like completely different, like in a completely different way than they would have about a day before. So it's kind of an odd occurrence, but like.
I remember that evening.
I never quit a job without one book. I mean, without one book, I never quit a job back in the day without having another. So
yeah,
and didn't quit that one. But it just seemed fell into place, man. And I got to, I have my little boy's 11. Started 6th grade, so that's Daddy got to work.
Yeah, I remember that evening. I remember you performing, watching the live stream, and I just remember the shock of people. I think it was the Facebook page, the Bishop Gunn Chillers, I think it's called.
Yeah, man, like, the shit I got last year, like everybody, it's like, everybody wants to, people, and something's like taken away. And I mean, well, that's actually the magnitude that, in a beautiful way, or in a strangely beautiful way, that you create by reaching people, and then like before it's even explained of its demise or whatever, it's just that can get ugly, right? Like it's not pro wrestling, it's not college football, it's not we're artists, like very, I make a living off of writing my feelings down on a sheet of paper and singing them to thousands of people,
Did it?
And you know, so it was kind of, you know, people like, what's going on? You know, the stereotypical. You know, it's always the stereotypical route to, oh, the singer, oh, he's going solo. You know, the age old, you guys are holding me back, I'm going solo kind of, you know, thing. You know, whatever goes through people's heads, like in the folklore, you know, of the whole thing, right? You know, so it was quite a time just silently just receiving blows from lots of different ends, and you know, and then, you know, just feeling like, well, oh,
well, because
time will tell, you know.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of unknown at that moment, you know. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I didn't blame it. I just, you know, I didn't understand, you know, people's frustrations or anything, you know. But literally, like, there wasn't like one reason like to give, you know.
Yeah, and up until now, you really haven't spoken about it. You know, I mean, the whole band really hasn't spoken about it. Does it feel better that you kind of talked a bit about it here today?
Well, I mean, not in the sense that, I mean, I've talked about it, not very publicly, but, you know, and there's really like no answer. It's like a conglomeration of just life, you know what I mean? And people's different equations. You know, you got four guys, and then with families or not, or, you know, or dependents, or, you know, just indifferent, and you know what I mean? It goes. I'm just glad that we were about to sign like we were potentially going to sign a deal, like, in, you know, that the pandemic would have just swallowed whole. It would have been a shelved band, and just like, so it was almost like it was strangely, fate was strangely sealed, at least for a year, even if we, you know what I mean, which was an odd factor that kind of just that shone through. It's like, I was like, wow, you know, and in the music industry where there's, you know, they had to take a year off with already prior investments in different artists and different, you know, financially and all, you know. So some bands they just signed right before, you know, the pandemic hit would have been probably the last thing on the list. You know what I'm saying? So in a way, I was kind of like, damn, I don't know, it was an odd occurrence, either however you look at it, but man, it is what it is, and I can only speak 100% for myself, but yeah, Bishop Gunn was fucking magic occurrence, man. Unbelievable things that just tie into that thing. Like, we got the name off the tombstone in the cemetery in Natchez, and just, it was all caps, Bishop Gunn, Gunn. You know, it looked cool, and we just needed it for we needed a name for like this one-off festival slot we were doing, the Natchez Balloon Festival that happens every year. Actually, that's this weekend. That's the annual festival. So 2014 was when we had a slot for this, and it was Byrne got me the big singer, and he had another guitar player, Hudson, who was in the EP, in the original EP days, Bank of the River and all that. You know, he was playing on, and we were basically covered band for a day. So we just took the Tombstone name, and then we decided to keep going with the project, and then, you know, incorporate like the songs I was writing into it. So that's how that stuck. But the thing is, in 2019, I guess, I started looking at, I actually paid attention to the actual date on the tombstone. You know, I knew the year, of Bishop Gunn's death. He was Bishop of Natchez from 1911 to 1924. And February 19th, I look at that. That's my son's birthday. 365 options there, and he was older than the whole idea of the band, So it wasn't like, he found that date or something, it was just impossible, right? And we got back from Europe after the Europe tour in early 2019. Right, so Drew Smithers was the guitar player. He was the only one in the band in that last lineup that wasn't from Natchez. We found out his great grandmother was born in Natchez. It was like he's from Connecticut, right? It's a little just strange little tie-ins to that just I'm into that universal kind of shit, So
it's like that. It's like that cosmic connection, everything.
Yeah. You can't you can't even and then there's so much of it. And, laws of attraction, manifestation of thoughts, the more narrow you focus on, the more you're going to figure out, the more you're going to see rhymes, But it was some pretty awesome, pretty significant rhymes of things, that just was affirmations that the whole damn thing was pretty special. It was to me, for sure.
It's a cliche, but it is true. Everything does happen for a reason.
Yeah, right.
I will tell you this, my 16-year-old son who loves rock music is totally into Gypsy Cadillac. I mean, he's like, Dad, this is like a perfect album. This is incredible.
And yeah, man, but there's things about what I'm doing. There's things about the quieter kind of, I've been playing for a year and a half with just me and a drummer for the most part. If I'm not just by myself, which has made, it's made me have to play more guitar, thicker guitar, a lot of droning, top string, a lot of just multi-layered, same time stuff, but also utilizing negative space even more so, just being me and a drummer, these dry spots, violation of rhythmic anticipation, just having fun. It's made me a better player like that, and I really don't mind a lot of elements of my one being, I'm a fucking poet with a guitar. I accompany. I'm pretty passionate about positive thoughts, in a philosophical way, that accompanied by a major or minor note, whatever the subject matter may be, and it makes nice lubrication for the ears to get a positive message through, So I don't mind. I don't mind a little bit of the quieter of words to be able to be understood easier, maybe, which opposed to really, really loud rock and roll, which that's as it's supposed to, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Just weighing my pros and cons, counting sometimes it's pretty cool to not have a Marshall to the right of you or something, when speaking out some heartfelt things, but the difference between a country song and a rock song is your fuzz pedal a lot of time,
Yeah,
and the intensity of the drummer, or the intensity of the intensity. So it's you can take a lot of moving parts to this here music thing.
Well, it's the subtlety, right? It's the subtlety of the music, of your music in particular, that creates the vibe. I mean, that's really what is interesting about Gypsy Cadillac is it's very atmospheric, right? I mean, it's got some beautiful tones. The lyrics are beautiful, but through the whole album, there's an atmosphere that you can really feel the room where it's coming from.
And thank from leaving leaving a lot of things up to interpretation in the writing and the instrumentation. And then, Jakir, like I said, Jakir King did the hell out of his part to what would you say, to accent it, to cradle it and represent it, help us represent it the way he did. So,
well,
sonically, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the future is here for you. I mean, you mentioned the new music that's coming in the spring, and I'm sure people are going to be excited about that. I'm sure people who do know are excited about that. What can you tell us about that music?
About what specifically? What was it?
About the new music. About the new music that you have coming.
Yeah, man. I'm in I'm putting some musicians behind. I'm adding musicians to whatever, the Travis McCready and you know what I mean, Travis McCready and the whoever's, right? But I want consistent musicians backing up that have their own identity behind. I've worked the last year and a half on meriting the name Travis McCready along with, so I'm going to keep that. I'm going to keep that name, I'm 34 years old, man. It's like, I think I deserve to, maybe a little bit of, be able to, nobody can, I think my son deserves, for me to, protect his livelihood with his name, but that doesn't mean that the band the brotherhood aspect is anywhere any less, So I'm adding some musicians behind that I want to be consistently there, and so which I haven't done really throughout the pandemic and stuff, because it wasn't anybody's ball game, I couldn't pretend to lead and say like, hey, I can keep you busy, I can provide financial stability to whoever I'm asking to be a part of, my movement or whatever, when no one's had that security, venues opening, closing, everything's up, down, so I don't procrastinate very well. So I just kind of stayed as simple as I could, as what was going to be, allowed anyway, right? So, but now it's getting to a point to where there's like a little bit of light opening up. So I'm kind of, I'm trying to expand and actually build some. I'm added these couple members to my thing. Jody Saloni, who's been playing drums with me for the last year and a half, almost. I think our first time to play was that first socially distanced concert, like in the United States for sure, like possibly like commercially promoted. And that thing in Fort Smith back in May 18th, 2020, it was like the first socially distanced concert, and it's commercially promoted anyway. Ticketmaster like made this thing called Fan Pods, and there was like this governor of Arkansas that was trying to fuck it up, but God bless him, he nobody knew what the hell was going on, right? But anyway, they were trying to take the best precautions possible, with the safety regulations and everything. But anyway, so Jody's been with me for a year, since May 20th, 2020, and we're adding some other elements, man, and see where this can go. Now that maybe we can actually the music business can swim again,
Yeah, and artists, like yourself can get out there and start performing. I know you've been playing, to the South region, a lot of local stuff. Are there plans once this gets going to start touring and, go to?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Definitely. Totally. Yeah, that's definitely on the cards. But it's kind of the last couple months, I'm in like the building phase of trying to build I was running around with the guitar playing anywhere, everywhere that could, possible. And now I'm kind of staying like in the close to the blueprints, like just making new close to the drawing board. So, and planning to do something wide open.
Well, once that stuff comes out, you got to come back on and we got to talk about it.
Totally. Please do so. Let me, when I'm just surviving right now and putting, and I'm constantly playing, and I'm constantly playing new material. Sometimes I'll play a song at a show I wrote the week before or something, just have the freedom of just kind of being the only one. I've enjoying the freedom of being the only one involved of rather than having, when you did have four members, and then like in releasing of a song was so much, had so much other dependence of it, and so how you went about that was, for the best way and the best execution and all that. I've been having a lot of fun just just everything's just free for all. Like, here, play this song, play that song. I just wrote this, yada yada yada. So I'm in a moment getting back to structuring what four people playing together, and for their best behalves.
Well, I look forward to hearing it. I can't wait, and I do follow you on social media. I have watched the live streams, and like last night, mixing some covers in with some Bishop Gunn stuff, and songs that we're not familiar with that will probably be on the new EP or album, however you decide to do it.
And if I release 20 albums, and just speculating overboard, then I would still. Anything I've written, anything that's came out of my soul, like and is the template of, that I was the general template of, then I'm going to sing that in any outfit that I involve myself in. It's like, going into the Travis McCready, whatever that looks like, people, it's important, that people know that, as a sole writer of all that music, that the difference between, like, there's not like knocking on your own old success or anything by singing these songs. Like, these are songs I sang. A lot of the songs were songs I sang in bands prior, and anything that means a lot to me that's came out of my hand and my mouth, I'm going to sing it and, with pride. So.
Well, I think I speak for everybody. We can't wait, and I think that a lot of fans who are listening got some kind of closure with the reasons that you talked about with Bishop Gunn. I think they're going to be excited about the future with your new music. And, I'm a huge fan, been a huge fan of yours for a while, man. Your voice, I've said this to, I don't know how many people, is the best voice in modern rock music right now.
Well damn, son. Y'all hear that, boys?
I ain't kidding you, man.
Buddies right here.
Man, it's got power, it's got soul, man. And it comes from, You sing from the heart. Like
Thanks a lot.
Not just your lyrics, but your tone too, man. It's just beautiful.
Thank you, man. It definitely. I kind of have one speed. I don't sing unemotional. Let's put it that way. Not very well at that.
Well, Travis, it's been a great conversation, a great discussion. I do appreciate you coming on and doing this.
Well, thanks a lot, man. Thank you.
All right, everybody. That is Travis McCready. Check out the new Bishop Gunn album, Gypsy Cadillac, streaming everywhere. I'm Jay Scott. This is The Hook Rocks. Take care. Stay safe. Stay strong. We'll talk again soon. Thanks.
Ain't no need in filling up that suitcase. Just throw in things that you're gonna use. We'll be pulling out of here at daybreak, and we ain't got nothing to lose. Take this time we have to call your mama. Help her understand this is what you gotta do. This old town can break you and it's gonna. And we ain't got nothing to lose. Let's fly like we know where we're going. Close our eyes like we don't have to choose. With you by my side, we'll get there, just know that we ain't got nothing to lose. We ain't got nothing to lose. Go ahead and wipe away yesterday's tears of sorrow and knock the dirt of the dead-end road right off your shoes as we head out into the sunrise of tomorrow. We ain't got nothing to lose.
You can't reason with the sun. Trust us, we've tried. This summer, it's time to put that angry ball of fire on mute. Columbia's OmniShade technology is engineered to protect you from the sun's harsh rays that can burn and damage your skin. The sun is relentless, but so is our gear. Level up your summer at Columbia.com to spend more time outside and less time slathering on aloe lotion. You're welcome. Columbia, engineered for whatever.